Hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to my couch. I wanted to tell you a little bit more today about myself and my journey to self love and why I am so passionate about self love, self care, and everything that feeds into living your best life. And why I have most recently designed a course called Embrace Your Goddess Body in 7 days, and what the concept of goddess body means to me. So, I've got a very, very long story about my connection with self love, but really a lot of it has to do with body image. I grew up in the 80s, and at a very young age, I developed a very full set of boobs. At that time, it was very fashionable to have a flat chest, no boobs, tiny little boobs, little bee stings. It left me in a quandary. I didn't know what to do. I mean, I couldn't exactly, at that age, cut them off. I was a teenager. I couldn't squash them down because they're big. They're pretty sizable, and they weren't going anywhere. I was fortunate in that at that stage I had really thick eyebrows. The 90s came after that. I got rid of the eyebrows. They never really came back. But I had really thick eyebrows. So that was in fashion in the 80s. And thank you, Brooke Shields and Cindy Crawford. So I at least had the eyebrows. But my boobs really made me feel uncomfortable. There was also a big thing about skinny. Skinny was in. It was about being emaciated. That thread carried through into the 90s. So I spent my teens trying to be thin enough, basically, wishing I didn't have boobs and trying to be thin enough. However, on the flip side, I've got a very strong spirit, and my spirit has always had this sense of what's right. And I loved food, and I loved feeling good, and I loved having fun. And so there were these two parts of me in this constant tug of war, like, you should be skinny, you shouldn't have big boobs. Skinny is in, but I can eat a whole family-sized pizza. When I was a teenager, I could eat a whole family-sized pizza. I had an appetite. So I started to play with this idea, because I also had a rebellious spirit. So I kind of thought, well, I'll just rebel against how things should be, and I'll be okay with eating a full-size pizza and having big boobs. I'll kind of play on the things that make me different. I'll embrace them, and I'll love them, which was all fine during my teen years. But basically the outside pressure got a little bit too much for me. And by the time I left school and went to college, I started dabbling with the idea of anorexia. Anorexia didn't work for me because you have to not eat. And as I've said, I love food and I love pleasure. So that was just miserable. I had a headache. I think my little attempt lasted all of a couple of weeks, maybe, which led me to discover binging and purging, because I was already quite thin. In those days, my thrill was to visit the blood bank, because they would set up in the shopping mall where I worked, and I would go and visit them and say, oh, I'm here to donate blood. I'd really like to donate blood. And I really would have liked to donate blood. And then they'd put me on the scale and they'd say, you are too light. You're not heavy enough. You don't weigh enough to be able to donate a pint of blood. And I'd be like, oh, damn. But inside I was like, yes, I'm still underweight. Underweight was good. That's how fashionable underweight was. It's so tragic. It's tragic now. It's tragic to even hear the story. Because my self-worth was pinned in the fact that I needed to be underweight. Anyway, fast track forward to after having attempted not eating, which is what is required in order to maintain some form of anorexia. It sounds terrible because this is an illness that plagues people and takes lives, and I don't take it lightly. I feel that deeply. So when I speak lightly of my own experience, it's really more of a coping mechanism than anything. So yes, I discovered the concept of binging and purging, and tried it out for size, and it worked. It worked because I certainly could eat, so binging worked well for me. And turns out that I was really, really capable of getting rid of it as easily. So I managed to stick to this for quite some time, thinking always that I had control over it and then it would come to an end. And then talking to somebody at one point who was in psychology, who told me that a bulimic was classified a bulimic if they'd been doing it for longer than 3 months. And I thought, oh, hell. Because in my head, I was always like, I'm not a bulimic. That's a label that I'm not taking on. I don't suffer from bulimia. I'm fine. I've got a handle on this. I'm just managing my weight. That's what I told myself. And then I heard this information and I thought, oh gosh, okay. And it was a bit of a slap in the face. I managed to bury that, but shortly thereafter, my best friend at college bust me, basically. She caught me out at mind game. She knew what I was up to. And she very kindly and lovingly and courageously threatened to call an intervention with my family if I didn't manage to get it under control. She also showed me a photograph of myself and pointed out facts that I wasn't looking at photos of myself at that stage. I had gone into a self-loathing cycle, which is very, very sad. I was quite lost at the time, grappling. I didn't really know what to grab onto. And she showed me a photo, and my face was incredibly swollen. And my head looked too big for my body. My body was really skinny. Even my boobs had shrunk, but my face was swollen. It was puffy and thick, and this big head with this really swollen face. I had a bit of a moon head going on, and I got a bit of a shock. I was very vain. I suppose we all are in the end of our teens, early 20s. And I think I was all of 19 at the time. And the shock of seeing what I looked like and how seriously she was taking the situation, and the fact that she threatened to speak to my family, that shook me. That all shook me. And her actually pointing out what I was doing and naming how much I would eat when I binged and what I was doing to my body. She didn't hold back. She loved me. In that act, she loved me deeply. And I thank her for that. That was one of my experiences with this grappling with my body. It was a long journey for me from there through my 20s, through pregnancy, through becoming a mom, through all the changes that my body took, but having this deep sense that kept. I think it was the same voice that I tried to silence when I was saying I don't have a problem. Sponging and purging is not a problem. It was the same voice that told me it's okay to enjoy food when I was a teenager. It's okay to have big boobs. That voice was always there. That sense that life is for living, and that our bodies are our temple. This is where we live, and loving ourselves first as we are is the first step to becoming a better version of ourselves and living our best life. So that was quite a long journey, and along the way, I really, really got stuck in through workshops, books that I've read, courses that I've done, working with a therapist, and really grappling with fighting off all the masks that I'd chosen to wear and the mantles that I'd chosen to carry, and the fear, and just getting in touch with me and who I really am. And through that process, connecting with my amazing physical form, and that as I am is perfect as I am, and that there's no change required. And so my self-love journey came through my body. So body love for me is definitely a vehicle to self-love. And this brings me to the course that I've just put together, Embrace Your Goddess Body in 7 days. It's really, really powerful. It's a first step. It's fun. It's light. It's easy. It's quick. It'll take you between 15 and 20 minutes a day. And it comes highly recommended, if I say so myself. Give it a try. What you will get is immense value for a lifetime. So once you've purchased the course, you will always have your login. That course will always be available to you. You also get the course is downloadable, so there are downloads in the form of a workbook with all the information, meditations that you can listen to. You need to listen to them every day for the duration of the course, but you can listen to them at any time after that, as well as activities to do. There's a daily insight with a theme. Each day sort of builds on the day before and into the next day to create a beautiful 7-day experience. And the results are just phenomenal. So I invite you to give it a go. In the meantime, ask me any questions. You can send questions to me at dianagrant.com or on my YouTube channel or on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere you can find me on social media. Ask away. I'll be happy to answer your questions. And what I'm really looking forward to is hearing from you once you've done the course and getting feedback on your amazing results. So yes, have a look for the course in the meantime. It's at www.dianagrant.com. And yeah, shoot me your questions. Okay, see you soon.